From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
and this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by
Vitamin energy.
The vitamins.
Energy.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi.
and Corey Clark.
Wake up! It's Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy. Coming up on today's show, the Noles split opening weekend at the College World Series in Omaha, but endure one of the most brutal losses in program history. We try to make sense of it all. And we're about to drop 16 through 20 of the Warchant Top 40 this week. I've got a wild card in my segment that Corey shakes his head at. Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy, vitaminenergy.com. Promo code Corey.
Warchant BOGO.
Buy one, get one free, everybody, over at vitaminenergy.com. Promo code set up by our great friends over at vitaminenergy.com that are Florida State alums, all ACC performers in their heyday. Still pretty athletic, pretty explosive, pretty dynamic. But they were all ACC in their day, so they wouldn't lead you astray. World's first clinically tested, clinically proven energy shot, 260 milligrams, all natural caffeine, no sugar crash. Shake it and take it. Energy and nutrients. Vitamin Energy. Warchant.com, the ultimate Seminole sports source, some say. Won't you subscribe? FSU won 2 months. 2 months, you YouTube folks. $1 when you use the promo code FSU1. Podcast, folks, you can use it too. Hopefully you're already a member, though. Lots of great content, lots of great recruiting content. We'll probably do some of that tomorrow. Ira Schofel out there in Omaha. Maybe we'll have him on the show tomorrow as well. Get some more insight into what the Noles have ahead of them against North Carolina. But before we get to that and the pain of this past weekend, Corey Clark, how was your weekend on the Diamond?
It was all right. Brady's team won 2 of the 3 they played. I went to a Braves game and they won on my birthday. And then on Father's Day, the Braves lost and Brady's team lost. So it wasn't a happy Father's Day, except on Sunday, obviously the Noles kept their season alive. So that's what's most important.
Okay. All right. How was Father's Day? So did Brady at least go like 2 for 4 at the plate for you?
No, don't want to talk about it.
Okay.
But also they had to wait. It was 2 hours delay for lightning.
Ooh.
So got to the park at 4:15 because you're supposed to be there an hour early. Yeah. Left the park at 9:45 for a 2-hour baseball game. So that was a rough one.
Lightning and when air quotes around it, or was it?
No, I actually saw lightning.
Okay.
I saw lightning. What's funny, though, it's not funny. It's just how this always works. It's a huge park with, I don't know, man, probably 1,500 people in it because there's like 8 different fields and there's kids and parents. There's the teams on the field. There's the teams getting ready to play. So it's a lot of people. And they had the lightning delay. They make the players on the field go in the dugout, but the other teams that are playing the next game, they're in the batting cage or they're pitching. They're in the bullpens pitching. Parents are, they're all exposed to the elements, so they're all at risk, quote unquote. But they don't make those people like go inside or go to the car. So it's all crazy. We've talked enough about lightning delays on this show. We don't need to start about the North Georgia lightning delays.
Let's get to it then. For the 5th time in a row when Florida State is out in Omaha, they are now 1-1 after the opening weekend. This time around, they lost their opener against Tennessee 12-11 in absolutely heartbreaking fashion. Some might say quintessential Florida State postseason Omaha fashion. They were able to get back off the mat, though, 2 days later, Sunday, and take down Virginia 7-3. They eliminate the Hoos. And now Florida State will take on North Carolina in an elimination game on Tuesday, 2 p.m. Eastern time. Florida State has to win 3 games in a row. They'll have to defeat North Carolina and then take out Tennessee twice, with God knows who on the mound, but at least they live to fight another day. Sunday, a fantastic day, Core. That 7-3 victory. Carson Dorsey showing us just how much of a dog he is. Just an absolute warrior, bulldog, whatever sort of cliche you like to call your gritty pitcher. Jaime Ferrer now owns Charles Schwab Field. 3 home runs in the tournament so far, but I think we have to start Friday night. The 12-11 loss to Tennessee, Corey. I guess we've seen this movie before this year when it comes to leads in this bullpen. I was nervous the entire time, but I wasn't panicked or distressed until Brendan Oxford just couldn't get anybody out. This game is so crazy, Corey, and I want to let you go here, but it's just, I can't remember any game, basketball, football, softball, where man, there's like legitimately 5 people you can maybe kind of point a finger at and not necessarily blame them, but like, hey, man, you had a hand in this. Coaching decisions also had a hand in it. How have you processed that game, despite the fact that we're looking ahead? But let's look back real quick.
Yeah, and you can. The umpire deserves something, and I'm not saying the umpire cost them. Well, I can say that. Yeah, I think that was strike 3. I think that's a swing by letter of law, and just by eyesight, that's a swing. My man's bat was in the field of play. It was so far past the plate, it was in the field of the play. That's a swing. That's an effort at the ball.
Do you think Tennessee's reputation or their attitude that night beforehand influenced the ump's decision?
I do think if it's Florida State's in that dugout, it's a swing. I also think if it's a right-handed hitter that has a check swing and the first base umpire, the same principle. Being by the Tennessee dugout, making that call, it's a hard call to make, man. It is. I mean, I get it. It's all you. I remember the Giants and the Dodgers 2021 actually, because the Braves beat the Dodgers in the next round. The Dodgers beat the Giants, who won like 108 games. It was Buster's last year. In Game 5 on a check swing call. The first base umpire called him out on a check swing. And so many people were like, you can't end a series on that. You can't have a team season come to an end on a check swing. And it's like, well, if he swung, you can. Like, who says you can't? Like, that's the rule. He check swung, but it was close. And I think typically if it's not obvious in a situation like that, the umpire is going to say no swing. If it's not absolutely obvious, and it wasn't obvious to me anyway, because I've always thought, I know you didn't ask me about this.
No, go on, man.
I've always thought, and I played the sport for a good while. I think I played 3 years in the bigs. But no, I played the sport for about 10 years growing up. I always thought a swing was when you broke your wrist.
That's
how I've always grown up. That's how I've always looked at it. That a swing is when you break your wrist. Well, he didn't break his wrist. But at the same time, in the rule book, it says the swing is when the barrel of the bat goes past the front hip.
Correct.
Well, man, that barrel of the bat was not only past the front hip, it was past the plate, and it was past the chalk of the front of the batter's box.
Yeah.
So if that's not a swing, a check swing, then nothing is. So he did offer at it. Credit to him, though, man. Like, I hate to say this, those guys are good hitters. Yeah. They were down to their final strike twice and got hits when they needed to. The problem with the game, as you were alluding to, and you look, we know they won on Sunday. I think the reason that Aslan wants to lead with the loss is because you don't really I guess crazier things that have happened. But this is not a scenario where you feel good that Florida State can go win 4 straight games, which they've won 1 of the 4.
Yeah.
So you can't win 4 straight until you win the first one, and that was a good win on Sunday. And I do want to talk about Dorsey because that was awesome what he did. He has been their best pitcher in the postseason. Sorry, Jamie Arnold, but it's true. Dorsey's outpitched him in the postseason. But you can't win this pool when you lose the first game. And I was thinking about it.
Not with the staff they have right now.
Right, but you look at these other staffs, I don't know how realistic it is. I mean, maybe Tennessee could because they're so used to Johnny Holstaff in it anyway. But, like,
no honor in that, by the way. How is that not shamed out of the game? I think that baseball, like David Aldridge once said, we have lost the ability of shame in society. How is that stuff still a thing? And I know Kevin Cash invented it pretty much, but the Stamos kid he doesn't even go like 2/3, like or whatever he goes, and then he gets pulled, and it's crazy. I'm sorry, go on.
No, it's fine. So what I was going to say though is when you have an event where, I think it's been 43. I can't remember the exact number, but I think 4 of 43 teams. 4 of 43 seasons has a team lost the first game in the current way they do the College World Series, in the current format, that a team has lost the first game and went on to win the whole thing. So basically, when you lose the first game, you have a 9% chance. It cuts your percentage down to 9% to win the whole thing, which part of me, and I know I say this as somebody that covers Florida State and cares about Florida State baseball, and they always seem to lose the first game, it's like, man, that kind of sucks as an event. Like this sport isn't set up like that. You don't. I don't know what the numbers are, but I can guarantee you in the NL postseason, If you lose the first game of the World Series, the MLB postseason, you don't only have a 9% chance of winning the thing. What kind of event do you win? You lose a game in a double elimination, but it's set up and punishes. It absolutely punishes you so ardently that you have almost
Draconian.
no chance.
No.
It is. I mean, you just don't have a chance. It just
Baroque.
doesn't happen. So that's why we're going to harp on the loss on Friday, not only because you lost it, how you lost it, and then what it means to your chances of actually winning a national championship, because it really basically crippled them. You can still miracle your way out of this pool, but it will be a miracle because I don't know how much Whitaker can throw. I know Arnold can't throw, and Dorsey ain't pitching again until they make the championship series. So who you got? You're done. Like, you're done with reliable arms. That doesn't mean guys can't go out there and have great outings that you're not expecting. Scott Seitz, Will Zerzow, things like that have happened in the past, but it just really, really hurt your chances, like almost to make them non-existent. And the problem is, if you win that game, you're set up so much better. Now, in Aaron Fitt from, I think he's Baseball America. Maybe he's D1 Baseball now. I can't remember.
I think he moved over. I think Teddy
he was
Cahill's the guy.
He had a screenshot of the check swing, and he's like, it's a he goes, look, it was a brutal call, but as they say in the dugout, on to the next pitch. You still have the next pitch. You still have the next play. It's not all on the umpire. Yes, you lose the game because, he's like, yes, if it was called like it should have been, you would have won the game. And I wanted to be like, stop right there. That's it.
Yeah.
Because if they call that check swing a strike, or if Diamez Ross takes a better angle and catches a ball, and we've seen people rob. But there have been other guys that have made catches at the fence in this College World Series.
Oh man, yeah.
If he makes that catch, then you only have to win 2 more games. Now you'd only have to win 1 more game. And when you win that first game, you have to win twice. You have to win 2 more times.
Yep.
If you lose that first game, you have to win 4 times in a row against College World Series teams. It's really, really hard to the point of, as we just talked about, almost being impossible. So that's why it was so frustrating. Because you had a chance, man. It was right there. Now, look, even if you win the game, even if you'd have beat UNC on Sunday night, which I feel like you'd had a good shot with the way Dorsey pitched to win that game, there is absolutely no guarantee you're beating Tennessee again. But they'd have to beat you twice.
Yep.
In one of those outings, you'd probably have Jaime Arnold going again, and you have to imagine he'd pitch a little better. But so that's what's so frustrating about the whole event, and it just adds to the misery of what this program has done out there. At the same time, really cool win for them on Sunday. And that's not sarcastic. I wanted them to get a win. I didn't want them to be the first team out there. I think it's been too special a season, and it's too good a team for them to just be bounced 0-2. So I like that they showed a little what for, which is what they've done all year, and bounced back and got themselves a win. But that was a true heartbreaker on Friday night.
Yeah, I tweeted it out that, whenever this happens for Florida State, and I really feel like Link Jarrett's the guy that's going to make it happen, and I'm hoping it's going to be some sort of Red Sox thing where you just get one, like Tito gets you that one, and then it just kind of becomes an avalanche, and you just keep winning. I think once Florida State gets one of these under Link Jarrett, they're going to keep getting them. And I feel like it's going to feel amazing, but I don't know any longer, man. Like, that pain, and I haven't been that distraught and that upset over Florida State losing a game in a long time. And I'm not talking about baseball. I'm talking about any athletic event that Florida State has done. And it was such a brutal loss. And you start at the beginning of the game. They mentioned that Jaime Arnold apparently injured his pitching thumb on the trophy during the celebration after winning Super. So it wasn't like the dog pile. Apparently this trophy is a dangerous, lethal weapon, Corey. So like your starting pitcher hurts his thumb. You don't touch third base on what should have been an easy score for Jackson West. Like, you start seeing these things and you're hearing these things like, this is so quintessentially Florida State, but you're like, well, listen, man, these are things that you've lived under your life with like a certain coaching staff that had a reputation of maybe being a little bit tight. And then you see the way they kind of bounce back. I mean, Ferrer starts hitting a home run. Dinges has some clutch hits. Everybody's contributing. Even Jackson Westlake was getting some walks and looking pretty good. And then Connor Whitaker comes into the game because Jamie Arnold, frankly, did not give you enough. Although, I mean, that's not fair because Link said he gave you enough. To me, it didn't seem like he gave you enough, Corey. I don't know if we disagree on that, but Link said that Jamie gave them enough. Listen, in full transparency, everybody, pull up the transcript. I texted Corey and Ira, and I was like, I think they need to bring Oxford in. And they brought Oxford in, and Brennan just didn't have it, man. He couldn't get out of these 2-strike situations where he should have retired guys. So like all these things start unfolding in a way that you're like, man, this program just has the most bizarre sort of luck, if you want to call it that. And then the check swing like on top of it. So it's maddening. But for whatever reason, with this coaching staff and the way they do play and just, I don't know how much of me is hanging on to the fact that you feel like they're going to be able to load up and keep coming back and have good chances at this. And we saw just how much of a go they gave to Tennessee, which might be the odds-on favorite to win it now. Or do you sit here and lament the fact that, golly, when you hear about how excited Link was after the game on Sunday where they beat Virginia, it's like, what Carson did gave us a chance to I don't know if he said legitimately, but he said he gives us a chance to now win a championship. And It's like, yeah, man, if you get that call or Diamez makes that catch or, Whitaker stays in the game and you don't pull him or you don't put Diamez as that defensive sub, like you have a real legitimate chance. And unfortunately, that's the top line for me as we sit here and still talk about it.
Yeah, it's how the sport works. Like there's plenty of other plays. They got their third and fourth runs were just given to them. Like Jackson West, if you hold on to the ball, he's out at home.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
It gets kneed out, and then Jamie Arnold almost throws the ball in the right field on the next hitter, a little squibber. That scores a run. Well, number one, that's a bad play by Jamie Arnold. That's his error. But he would have never even been in a position to make the error if your catcher can hold on to the ball. Yeah. Well, that's 2 runs in a game you lost by a run. The same token, Max Williams should have hit into a double play in their big inning. But the first baseman just dropped the ball for Tennessee, which I think then allowed a couple of extra runs to score later in that inning, I think.
They had 3 errors, Tennessee, when they took advantage of them too, Flores.
So they gave you outs too. And so there both teams were lamenting. Both teams had things to lament. It's just, I know there's a fatalist thought when you lose a game like that, and I've seen some horrible losses there. They lost to TCU, and Mike McGee had just clearly not been himself. He had lost whatever magic he had in his right arm. It was obvious before in his last 3 appearances. Well, he gives up a 500-foot home run to TCU in an elimination game when I think they had like a 7-3 lead. And I also think that's the game where Jeff Parker, who was one of their best relievers, just blew out his arm in the 6th inning. So they had to bring in guys that aren't used to pitching in spots, and he might have finished the game. That was bad luck. Certainly bad luck for Jeff. And then the LSU game from 17, the opener, when they have a lead, and then all of a sudden Cal Raleigh, who's a borderline all-star in the major leagues, can't catch the ball twice on one play. Like he just all of a sudden can't catch. Weird things like that happen. I think this dude, I could be wrong. I get it. And I know when I'm saying this just mere days after one of the most brutal losses in Florida State baseball history. But I think this guy is curse-proof. I think he will figure it out. I think, in fact, and it's easy to say because everybody has injuries. I think if they don't suffer injuries this year, this is probably a national championship team.
Yeah.
It just is. I think Cam Leiter pitches the 8th and the 9th for you on Friday night.
Gosh.
I just think he does. And now, look, Tennessee can hit, and they're not scared by velocity. But, okay, good, man. You can hit Connor Whitaker. You can hit Connor Holtz. You hit Oxford, obviously. See if you can hit 97. 98 with some nasty breaking stuff. See if you can do that he only has to get 5 or 6 outs. Or the kid that threw 101 that got hurt in January out of the bullpen. Those 2 guys, if you have those 2 guys, I just think this whole thing is different. My point being, I think he put together, in one offseason, he put together a national championship type roster. So I trust he's going to do it again. Now, the caveat there is it came ready-made with Cam Smith, James Tibbs, and Jaime Ferrer. I don't think he's going to go be able to replicate those guys next year. You know what I mean?
Right.
You got to go find them in the aggregate like Moneyball. go get a Hattiesburg in Jermaine Dye or somebody. I don't know who else.
Dave Justice.
Dave Justice, yeah.
Jason Giambi or Jeremy.
Jeremy Giambi. They lost Jason.
Yeah.
So yeah, they got to go find that in the aggregate. But I think he looks at this team. He looks at Tennessee. He looks at some of these other clubs. Clearly, this bullpen is a weakness, and it's been a weakness all year. It's not like Link doesn't know that. And people that were complaining about his moves on Friday night, who'd you want him to get? Who's out there? Kimbrel? Gene Garber? Bruce Sutter? I'll name all the great Braves closers. Raisel Iglesias? They're not out there. Matzik? Will Smith?
But,
the great ones.
They scored on a sac fly, and there's not. The bases were clean. And listen again.
Yes.
I said bring in Oxford. So I feel like a complete jerk bringing
Look,
this up.
but I get it. Whitaker had a ball hit off the wall that should have been caught, but it wasn't. But that's a ball that's hit off the wall, and another ball that was hit to the track. So I get it. And he also was at 70 pitches, and they'd all seen him. In Oxford, man, Oxford's been their best guy. That's not saying much, because they don't have a lot of good guys down there that are consistently good anyway. But he's been their best, most consistent guy. He typically throws strikes, and you're just looking for guys that can throw strikes. That's what you're looking for there. And if Diamez Ross makes that catch to start the inning, for all we know, it could be a 1-2-3 inning. That's how baseball works sometimes, man.
And I'm in my house, and I'm yelling. I'm like, just throw a strike, Brent. I'm like, he is scared. I thought the Burt kid that had the check swing, to me, he looked nervous in the box even before he got to that point of the check swing. I'm like, he looks nervous. I'm like, just put it over the plate. Do not walk this kid. Please do not walk him.
Right.
And he threw him a strike, just like I asked him to and begged him to. And then Burke, to his credit, and that freaking Christian Moore kid who went for a cycle, they made plays too, unfortunately.
Yeah, they did. Tibbs had 4 Ks. There were a lot of things that went against you. You also scored 11 runs, and you had your ace on the mound. And let's not forget that Jamie Arnold wasn't what he needed to be. It ain't like, I know Tennessee is probably the best offense in the country, but Jamie Arnold pitched in the ACC. Yeah. He faced a lot of really good offenses. He shut almost all of them down. So him giving up, I don't know how many were earned. And some of them was, Ferrer, the ball that drops in front of him, catching.
4. He had 6 runs, 4 were earned.
Yeah, but, and one of them were, I don't know if that counts as an unearned run, the one that West should have. That's probably an earned run. But Jackson West, if he holds onto the ball,
right.
It's not a earned run. That should have been an error, honestly. Ferrer had a pop-up land in front of him because he got a bad jump. Not going to hear a lot of criticism of Jaime Ferrer on this show, though.
No, sir.
My man is crushing it out there. Yeah. But that's a ball that needs to be caught. It was in the air too long. College baseball teams aren't perfect. It's not even so much that you lost the heartbreaker against a really good team. It's that what it would have meant. Again, it's not like football anymore where you could lose on a last-second field goal in September and kind of shrug and be like, darn it. But this cost them, that game almost certainly cost them a chance at a national championship. Don't know if they were going to win it. They still would have had to beat Tennessee again. They still would have had to beat whoever's coming from the other side twice. It's not like
you just feel like they get out of that bracket, though, right? You feel like they make it out of that bracket, though.
I don't know if I'd feel that, but obviously they have a much, much better chance. Tennessee's really good, man. You would have had to beat them again with who knows pitching.
That's fair.
But the same thing is man, you went from having a real shot with this offense, and Dorsey coming on the mound the next game, to go 2-0 for the first time in forever, and instead you give up 4 runs in the ninth and you lose it. So that was a bummer. That really was a bummer. That's the bad news. It's not over, though. That is the beauty of the double elimination. You keep fighting for another day. They still have to get you out 27 times. North Carolina's got to get you out 27 times. And if you beat them, who knows who you're pitching. But if you beat them, Tennessee's still got to get you out. And you should not be scared of Tennessee's pitching, clearly. So maybe you eke out a win, and then you have Arnold going in the Thursday game on kind of normal rest. But these next 2 are going to be hard. How are you going to win? Who do you pitch on Tuesday and who do you pitch on Wednesday? We don't know. Let's stop talking about that for a sec. I do want to go back to the game on Sunday.
Well, hey, let's talk about our great friends over at Corner Pocket, if you don't mind.
Man, you know what sucks about that, Aslan, is as I was tracking the game, because I was at the Braves game, so I was keeping up with the game, but I wasn't watching it. I'm like, man, I can't wait to see if they hold on. I want Bill to send me the footage of the final out. Because a Friday night at Corner Pocket with the Noles and the Vols on TV, a white-knuckle game, I was thinking that last out, I bet on that check swing. Everybody celebrated. So I would have really liked to have seen that footage. I bet it was that place was really packed and jammed and crowded and fun and excited right up until the last 5 or 6 minutes.
Yeah. Go grab your lunch there.
Go grab your dinner there.
Or that.
Go grab your dinner there.
Daily lunch specials, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. for only $8.99. Comes with a side dish of your choice. On Mondays, it's a half-pound Black Angus burger. Tastes real good. Tomorrow, trivia night at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill as well. 2475 Appalachia Parkway. CPTallybar.com on the website. Go check them out. All right, let's get to Sunday then, Corey, shall we? 7-3 win over Virginia. And Carson Dorsey, and I tweeted this out, and I lament it, man. It's a bummer that game against Stetson was on May 31st. Because he would be Mr. June right now, because what he did in the regional, what he did in the super regional against UConn, and then obviously what he did on Sunday against Virginia, man, I hope they can win another game or two so that this team just doesn't get lost in the blur of history out there, because what he has done has been remarkable. And do we think he's going to leave? I hope he doesn't leave, man. If he's part of the future, you feel even that much better about what they can be. But what he did on Sunday was just absolutely fantastic. Let me pull his lineup for you, everybody. As Florida State took out Virginia. He goes 7 innings, allows 9 hits, only 3 runs, 7 Ks, 2 walks.
Yeah.
And that doesn't even really do it justice, it feels like, Corey. 106 pitches. And he went out there in the 8th and tried his darndest to keep going.
Yeah, and I think that he gave up a single, right, in that inning?
Yeah.
And then that kid came around and scored off maybe it was Oxford. I don't remember.
It was Oxford. It was a wild pitch.
So, I mean, so I was like, I guess that's his runner. That's his earned run because he was on first. But it's like, man, that feels like that's not Dorsey's fault either. Right. But to go 7 innings and essentially give up 2 runs in that on that stage again, I know they don't look like Tennessee did on Friday night. They're not hitting bombs and cycles, but Virginia has a great offense. That is a very, very good offense, and they don't play in a weak conference. Like Virginia hit the most home runs in program history. They were like the 4th highest scoring team in the country, and my man went out there and held him to 2. That's really, really, and was in some trouble there at times, and got out of it. Just really cool to see, because anybody still listening to this remembers what he was like in Charlotte, and it was gross and worrisome how bad he was.
Link brought up Clemson in the post-game press conference too.
Oh yeah, well but he bounced back from Clemson. Like that's when he went into the starting rotation and became pretty darn important. But like that what he did in Charlotte, like I think it was a Virginia. He came in relief, and got bombed. Yeah. How about that? And then he starts the Duke game and does not go well there either. And then what Aslan was saying, what he's done since then is what do you get? 26 outs in the regional, and then he held UConn. I mean, they won 24-4, so he didn't have to pitch too hard against UConn. And then he did what he did today or Sunday. I mean, that's really good stuff, man. And now you wonder, he could be drafted if he shows interest in it. But man, that was really. I just love what what it says about him. The way he struggled, the way he gave up. He was part of 2 horrible losses. The Clemson loss. Well, he gave a grand slam to the same kid in back-to-back games in Clemson, and then was part of a 16-4 murdering in the championship game of the ACC tournament. And since then, you could argue he's been one of the best pitchers in the country. Yeah. He's been the best pitcher on the team. I know Jamie Arnold had the immaculate inning and had all the strikeouts. Carson Dorsey's been better in the postseason, and it hasn't even been all that close. He's been great. And that's just really cool, man. That's really cool for him to bounce back like that. It says a lot about him. It says a lot about his development, how he's getting developed. And that was he kept his season alive. And I think that's what Link said. Is like he gives us a chance to win a championship, as in we're still here and they ain't. So technically we still have a chance. Now, it's not like it frees them up to use some arms that they're really excited about. But
that was part of it too, though, Corey, because if he was saying that, like, if Dorsey only gives you 2 innings, and you still find a way to win that game against Virginia with a whole bunch of other arms, and like, he still doesn't know what they're going to do Tuesday. We'll talk about that in a minute or two. But yeah, if Dorsey only went 2 innings and they still had to piece this thing together, you have absolutely no confidence, really. I mean, inside the dugout, inside the clubhouse, they do. But if you're a fan, there's very little confidence you have of them making it another day out there. But right now, like, I feel fine. I still don't know what they're going to do against North Carolina, but I feel fine. Like, I feel pretty good, actually.
Well, you shouldn't. But just because, I mean, you got to assume North Carolina's in a similar situation. Like, nobody has great pitching left in Game 3. But using your Game 3 starter.
They've got their one bulk arm, though, the Pence kid, Dalton Pence. He didn't throw against Tennessee. I don't even know if he threw against whoever they beat in their first game, or he might have only.
Well, they didn't. They lost. I assume he did pitch against Virginia because it was a close game. Or against they beat Virginia. That's right. I assume he pitched in that game.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they got an arm. You probably have Whitaker, but that's the problem you have now. Is like, okay, let's say you do pitch Whitaker, you start him. He gives you 5 innings at 81 pitches. Well, now he's throwing 150 pitches in 4 days, and then who do you start on Wednesday if you happen to win Tuesday? Do you pitch Arnold on 4 days rest?
You go John. Like, it's John Abraham or Andrew Armstrong. I feel like one of them is probably going to start on Tuesday.
That's what I'm saying, man. That's why Friday night was such a bummer.
I know, but it just,
you know what I mean? Like, that's where you're left. Like, you could have had it all set up. That's why this event kind of sucks in the way it's structured. It is an awesome event. If you're still listening to this, you're obviously a baseball fan and you're a Florida State fan. And if you haven't been to Omaha, please go. It really is neat. It really is a cool experience for a baseball fan. It's hot as Hades, but it's a really cool experience. But the way it's structured is, I mean, it's just basically, it all comes down to if you win your first game or not. That's the only chance you have. And even then, you only have like a 25% chance, but 25 is better than 0.
They showed that graphic, Corey, about this whole thing now. The narrative now is going to be the number 1 overall national seed has not won it all and since the first time they went to the super regional format where they had these national seeds. It was Miami in 99. Last year, Wake Forest was the number 1 overall seed. They went 2-0 out in Omaha, and they ended up losing the next 2 games. Oregon State was in the mix in this situation. I think Miami might have been another team that actually was the number 1 overall seed. And so these teams have been...
Take that, Hurricanes.
Yeah, I mean,
take that.
There's teams that have gone out to Omaha and started off 2-0. And it's not an automatic... I'd rather be them than us right now, but it's not an automatic...
it can't be. Yeah, I mean, even if you go 2-0, your chance of winning are probably 33%. I assume Florida did last year, and they met... By the way, so that LSU-Florida championship series last year,
right.
I think already 3 of those guys have played in the major leagues.
Langford guy, Skeens.
And then Waldrop, I think, pitched for Florida last year, and he started for the Braves today.
Jeez.
As the starting pitcher. Now he got rocked for the second start in a row, and he's back in AAA now. And then Dylan Cruz doesn't even count yet because he has. I mean, that was an absolutely loaded championship series.
Low-key awesome thing for this, not to get off the tangent here, Corey, but really cool about the sport, right? That kids can stay now, play college ball, go pro, and then not have to, toil away for too long before they get called up if they've got the goods.
Yeah, I mean, I think you'd be, I would not be surprised if, I don't know, a handful of the guys that are in the series this year at least get a cup of coffee next year. They're so advanced. Like I'm talking about the Christian Moore kid, the kids at A&M, Tibbs, Cam Smith. Like some of those guys might be in the major leagues by the end of 2025. And that wasn't even thought of 10, 15, 24 years, even 4 or 5 years ago. So it is neat, man. Like it is cool. This is a really cool event. College baseball is better than it's ever been. And yeah, when you think about the it's just the probability. Like this team was always going to be hamstrung because of its bullpen. Yeah. The only avenue they really had to win a championship was to win that first game. And now look, 11 runs with Jaime Arnold on the mound probably beats every other team in the field that's there, all 6 other teams. I don't foresee any of those other offenses putting up 12 on the combination of Arnold, Whitaker, and Oxford. I just don't. Tennessee's got some guys now, man. As y'all saw, Tennessee's got probably 6 guys in that lineup that will be drafted in the first 2 or 3 rounds. 5 or 6. Like, it's the kid that hit the 3-run bomb, the lefty. I think he also started the 9th with that double off the wall. That kid is like their 6-hole hitter. And he's going to be a second round. Yeah. He's going to be a second round pick. Burke is going to be a second round pick. The 2 kids, Moore and the other guy, are going to be first. The guy that got the game winning hit, he's supposedly a first round pick. So they're loaded with an offense. That was just it's a bummer that you scored 11 and you were facing that lineup. At the same time, you're also allowed to get those outs. You're allowed to field, catch pop ups. You're allowed to catch the ball and plays at the plate. You're allowed to make the plays too. Golly, it's just a bummer because I've never this whole time for 3 and 4 months, even when they started 19-0, I'm like, yeah, man, just get to Omaha. That's a successful season. And it is.
Oh, absolutely.
It is a successful season. But at the same time, you don't know when your next chance is going to be this good, where you have
Smith and Tibbs and Ferrer and Dinges and Max Williams is batting leadoff. Yeah,
but you're also 3 outs away from beating the number 1 overall seed. You're 1 out away. 1 strike away on 2 different hitters from beating the number 1 overall seed, and you let it slip away. And now, look, they took it too. It wasn't like you hit 2 guys, walked the kid. You didn't make a horrible error. Again, you'd like Diamez to make that play, but that's a tough play. He's running into a wall. We've seen it made. I know he'd say he should have made it. And you could question whether he should have been in the game because it is a new park. He hasn't played center field in that park. Max Williams had played in it for 8 innings. But Diamez Ross is a better center fielder than Max Williams. That's why Link puts him out there all the time as a defensive
Did it on
replacement.
Sunday, too.
Yeah, man, and he did it in the regionals. And Diamez Ross made a big catch in the super regionals as a defensive replacement. So he has it has worked. It was just, it was not bad timing for the kid. The kid just fresh into the game gets a ball hit like that right over his head. But yeah, so that's what's so frustrating is I've never really believed, honestly, if I'm being honest, that they were a national championship caliber team. I thought they were an Omaha team. I didn't really think they were capable of winning a national championship until they had 2 outs in the 9th inning on the number 1 overall seed, up by 2. It had 11 runs on the board. Then you're like, you know what? You just get this out, and who knows, man?
Yeah.
Who knows? And instead you didn't, and now you've got to win 5 more games to win a national championship. But it's not supposed to be easy, Aslan. Right. Nobody wants to cruise to a national championship. You want Armstrong going 5 2/3 on Wednesday against the Balls, giving up 2 runs as you batter their bullpen. Like, okay, crazy things have happened. I want everybody to go look up, I think it was 2010 South Carolina. There's a kid named, and I'm not saying Armstrong is this, and it probably won't be Armstrong that pitches if they get to a spot like this. But it was, I think his name was Michael Roth. Does that name ring a bell?
I'll see if I can look it up.
It was a kid that I think had pitched like 18 innings all year.
2010?
Yes. And they had to use him because they lost the first game. They won their second one. They won their third, or he was pitching the third, something like that. They were out of pitching, and they had to start him. And if they were just going to see how far he went and pull him as soon as he got in any trouble. And he threw like a complete game. And they got to the championship series. I think he pitched again in the championship series. Pitched lights out again.
He did.
Was an All-American the next year. And they won the World Series 2 years in a row.
No.
That kid was a nobody before the College World Series. So maybe it is a John Abraham or a who's our guy that transferred from Florida? Tejada.
Oh, Tejada. I don't know if he's on the roster.
Maybe he gives you 7 innings. Somebody
awesome.
like that.
Yeah.
Maybe Cam Leiter's available. Who knows?
Yeah, he had his first start at the College World Series in 2010 in the national semifinal.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, and then he pitched the second game of the 3-game national finals against UCLA. He had a no decision, but they actually won the game. So
yeah, but he pitched a lot. I think
yes,
it wasn't like he pitched 2 innings in those games.
Right. Yeah, but he didn't pitch really at all until those 2 games, though.
Right. I mean, so it does. Other teams have it happen, man. Yeah. It does happen. Let's go. Let's believe. I'm sorry I lamented the Friday night loss.
We had to.
If they don't win it all this year somehow, you're always going to lament that one. That goes down as like
that's worse than the Justin Gonzalez game. Like that's
I don't even remember which one is that.
The 2012 against Arizona, the opener. Like that to me, that's that was like what happened against LSU in 17 was just a cavalcade of craziness. I forget who was playing in right field. He's from Key West, but like LSU had like a base hit to right field, and it just went right under his glove, and it's like
Stephen Wells, who was a very good outfielder. He was in the game because he was a good outfielder.
And it's like, how is this happening to us? But like, this reset the bar. But nonetheless, we look ahead. Just look at me straight in the face. So we talked about they're gonna have to do something crazy. Maybe this is it. Like I know you tweeted about it. Like they got to win. You can't win 6 in a row until you win 1. But like you corrected yourself here on the show. Like they got to win 4 in a row.
They might as well go ahead and win the next 2 after that.
Right. But maybe Florida ends up in that side of the bracket. But staring me right in the face. They scored 11 runs. 11 runs against Tennessee.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe that's cruel humor from 11 as he's sipping on a Arnold Palmer with Bobby Bowden playing a piano up there in Heaven's Gates. But
yeah, that's the other problem you have with the umpire. It's like can't you do any of the math in your head, man? Like there's 11 on the board. How fitting would that be if they won by scoring 11 runs in the College World Series? Then weirdly, for like the first time ever, I think if they win that game like 11-9,
which now so they're 9-15. All time in their openers in Omaha. So.
It's crazy. It's gross. I did see him win 1 against
Arkansas.
Not
horrendous though, but
but it's like especially the way it is now. If you lose that,
right.
If you lose the 9th game, that's 15 times they've essentially had no shot. World Series over is before it starts. Like softball's different because you can use the same pitcher a lot.
Right.
So Lonnie won a title losing her first game, and they rallied back from the elimination bracket. But they had Megan King got to pitch a lot. They're not going to roll out Jamie Arnold for 21 more innings. It ain't happening. But yeah, so that's what's. I was about to say something. I can't remember. Oh yeah, what was I going to say? Oh, I did see them win the Arkansas. I saw them win opener, and then I don't know that they scored another run the rest of the College World Series. They scored like two runs the whole College World Series.
They lost 2-0 to Michigan, and then 5-1 against Texas Tech.
And I think their run against Texas Tech was unearned, and that was 11's last game. So yeah, but I was going to say, like, if they win that game 11-9, if they call the swing and the swing strike 3, for the first time maybe in our lifetimes, Aslan, I truly believe Florida State fans would think this is our year.
Yeah,
it's meant to be. They just beat the number 1 overall seed when they're starting. Their ace pitcher didn't pitch well at all. They're going to go play North Carolina. They would have won that game. But the fact that they scored 11, it's like it's all working out. And the power of positivity.
Yes, sir.
Is such a big deal. But that's why I want to go back to the head coach. Because I think, much like I keep coming back to Moneyball, is when that scene at the end when they're interviewing Billy Beane and the Red Sox owner. The Red Sox owner is talking to Billy Beane. He's like, because I believe, or Billy Beane's explaining, I believe you can beat the curse of the Bambino with numbers.
Yeah.
Like you can arrange the numbers in a way and play the game in a different way where you can get rid of the curse of the Bambino. I do think this head coach is that, man. I know he is going again. He brought in 26 new players to this roster. He's going to overhaul it again, and he is going to bring in pitching. Lots of pitching. You've got what I think is a really good 1-2 dynamic offensive combo with Dingus and Max Williams coming back next year, along with Lodis and Ferrer. Hey, shout out to Lodis, by the way.
Absolutely, man.
Big home run, man.
There's some of that pop that we were hoping he was going to bring with him from Jackson.
And Ferrer's had a few hits out there, and he's had some big moments in the postseason. That's good. Now, they're not middle-of-the-order guys, I don't think, but that's a good order when they're 7-8. And Jackson West, we'll see. I love you. I love that he puts such good at-bats together. He drew a really important bases-loaded walk in that game, in their big inning. Like, he didn't go outside the zone. That's a really good bases-loaded walk that he had to bring in a run. He had some good at-bats. He's just not a thumper. He's not a power bat. And so I don't know what they're going to do at catcher. I assume he's in their plans, but I love what he means to that team. He is a kid that cares and seems like a really good leader. But either way, just looking ahead, you got Arnold coming back. you hope you got Dorsey coming back. You might have Leiter coming back with some of these other guys. And then you got Max Williams-Dingus. You've got to bring in – you got to bring in 3 or 4 big-time arms. If you bring in 3 or 4 big-time arms, with what this offense did, I think you'll be able to get who you want out of the portal. I mean, that's an overstatement. But there will be kids from all over this great country clamoring to play for this great program after watching what this offense did this year.
And this awesome
getting
coach.
to play in that park and this coach. It is not going to be hard to find kids that want to go bat in this lineup. So I'm really, really excited about the future of this program, and I'm really excited about this coach. And I think you could say 11 was cursed, and I don't think that's true, and I think that's kind of a rude thing to say, but I know a lot of people believe it. This program is not cursed. And if it is, Link, I believe that Link is going to be the one that breaks it. I just trust that dude, man.
Yeah.
I just trust that dude. They are one of 6 teams remaining. They just won a game in Omaha. They were horrible last year, had the worst season in school history, and they've now won 48 games. They're 6-1 in the postseason, and their one loss was crazy nonsense to the best team in the country. Like, this guy can do it, man.
Yeah.
He is the real deal, and you theoretically should have him for a good long while. It's weird, man. It was a horrible loss. I get it. But what they've done in the last 2 or 3 weeks after the ACC tournament I don't think I've ever been more excited about the future of this program. And it seems like we talked about last week. Maybe it was on headlines. I thought it was here. I feel like a national championship is an inevitability. I just do. I think, and now you could have said that about Mike Martin in 1986 too. I get it. You give yourself enough shots, you should win 1 or 2. Some unluckiness there, some maybe bad coaching decisions, but mostly unlucky. But it just happens. But I just think this guy has an answer for this quote unquote curse. I think he's gonna get them to the promised land. Probably won't be this year because of what happened on Friday night, but he will get there. He is going to see how the trends of this sport are going. He's going to say, okay, do I need 3 great starting pitchers, or do I need 6 lights-out type bullpen arms? Do I need these kind of fielders, or I need this kind of lineup? Like, remember last year, man, he was so – even when they were winning at the beginning of the season, he was lamenting how they weren't physical.
Right.
Like, they just weren't big. They didn't look like other teams.
Athletic enough, yeah.
Yeah, well, in 1 year, he turned it into this lineup. So now he's seen this bullpen and this pitching staff for a year. What do you think that's going to look like next year? I mean, I just think you're going to have dudes from all different arm slots, right-handed, left-handed, and this is no offense to Connor Holtz, but he just hasn't been very good lately. You're not going to have to run a Connor Holtz, this version of Connor Holtz. He might be awesome this time next year, but this kid right now, you're not going to have to run him out in a tie game in Omaha. And you're not going to have to count on Brendan Oxford to get you 6 outs in every game you play because you can't count on anybody else in the bullpen. He is going to have answers in that thing. He is going to have answers on this pitching staff. I'm very excited about, because they're going to play the game the right way, and they're going to be good fundamentally. If they get some major league caliber arms, and not just 1, but like 4 or 5, which I think is a real possibility, at least draftable arms, man, there's no telling where this program is going to go, but it's going to be really good, and I'm excited.
Absolutely. Any thoughts to what they'll do Tuesday, Corey? Like, do you start Armstrong just because he's a little bit older and maybe
no
Abraham?
Probably, or you start Whitaker. I guess you want to save Whitaker.
No way you're throwing Connor Whitaker.
Well, you're definitely going to pitch him.
Really?
I mean, what do you get? Say you get 4 good innings out of Abraham and gives up 2 runs. Who do you go for the 5th?
Charles hasn't thrown at all.
Yeah,
maybe there's maybe
I still
North
think
Carolina's
Whitaker's in play.
Okay.
It's 3 days off, right?
They play Tuesday. So he threw on Friday night.
So Saturday, Sunday, and Monday off. So
yeah.
He's got 3 days off. I don't know if it's the same thing as like Arnold. Like you wouldn't do it with Arnold.
Right.
But maybe Whitaker doesn't think his draft stock probably isn't all that high right now.
Bounces
I don't
back
think
a
he's
little better,
I don't think he's worried about that. I also think he's used to pitching in long relief. He's been this kind of guy. I think you maybe don't start him, but he's your first guy up in the pen. And you try to ride him through the middle innings and then just piece it together at the back end. And here's another thing I'd watch for. Maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't. I do think Arnold might be counted on for a final inning. If you have a 5-3 lead or a 5-4 lead and you need to get 3 outs to keep your season going, I think there's a chance Jamie Arnold pitches. That's a big if.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a really big if, but I think there's a chance that happens because you can't win 6 in a row until you win 2 in a row. So you got to do everything you can to win that second game. But we haven't even talked about him yet, and I know the show's almost over. My man Jaime.
Oh.
Come on, dog. Come on, dog. All I've talked about so far, man, is the stupid pop-up. That's my fault, Jaime. That was 1 run out of 12. You're off the hook, man. And you made a great relay throw that your catcher couldn't hang on to. Man, what he's done out there is really cool. I remember it ended up being an argument. I talked about this on Headlines. It was crazy. It was we were at Corner Pocket for something. I think it was after the Warchant golf tournament. We're at Corner Pocket. Florida State's playing at Wake Forest. They're playing. It's Chase Burns, and that game's on TV. And I'm watching the game, and he gets hit in the hand by a 99-mile-an-hour fastball. And I'm like, oh God, no. And Jeff's like, what happened? And I go, Jaime just took a 100-mile-an-hour fastball off his hand. He's like, oh, he might have. I think Jaime just broke his hand. And he's like, oh, we'll be fine. And I'm like, what? He goes, oh, we'll be fine. That's not. And I'm like, so we got into an argument where it ended up.
I remember this.
Yeah, I ended up saying, he thought I was saying, I was like, they're not going to be fine. That was my immediate thought. Like, you're not going to be fine? That's Jaime Ferrer. Yeah. And he thought I was saying the season's over. They're effed. And I'm like, no, I didn't say they were effed. I didn't dismiss it as casually as he did about losing somebody the caliber of Jaime Ferrer, who, by the way, hit the game-winning home run the next day. Jaime Ferrer is a great college hitter.
Yeah. His swing, that swing is almost, can a swing be made for that stadium? But just the way he's crushing those home runs, it's like he was created to show up at Omaha and do this.
But,
it's
man,
beautiful.
I think his swing is created for any stadium.
Yeah.
Like, he is such a strong kid. He had the double on Friday night against Tennessee to the right center, which is a great piece of hitting. By the way, shout out to Marco for doing that kind of stuff too. But Jaime, man, he's the forgotten great hitter in this lineup. Obviously, Cam Smith and Tibbs get all the headlines and most of the talk. They're both the potential first-round picks. I have no idea where Jaime will get drafted. I really don't. Like, I would draft him. I would draft him pretty darn high. He's a really good hitter, and when he hits the ball, he hits it hard, a lot. But I know he's not a great outfielder yet. He also hasn't played that position much, so he could get better at it. But maybe he'll come back. Maybe he won't like where he's drafted or gets told that he has a chance to, be a higher pick if he comes back. That would be awesome. But it's Cam Smith, it's Tibbs, and then we talked so much about Marco because he came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And he's got the crazy story. But with the is it HLH?
Yes.
Yeah, the disorder, the blood disorder he had, which had him in the hospital for 43 days. But Ferrer is almost like and Max Williams, the new guy. So we got all excited about Max Williams and Dingus, the new guys, and then the other 2 guys were the first-round picks. Man, Jaime is a beast. Mm-hmm. He is an absolute – I mean, ask Virginia. I mean, he's the reason – him and Dorsey are the reason Florida State's still out there. He is just an awesome college baseball player. And what he had to go through the last 2 years, along with Tibbs, he had to go through the last 2 years, those horrible teams, losing by 100 runs to Auburn 2 years ago in the regionals, not even making the regionals last year because they were horrific. And now he's putting on a bomb display in Omaha. Man, that's really cool, man. I don't care how this thing ends. It's cool that Jaime Ferrer has had some moments like this in his college career. We made a lot out of Tibbs on last week because of what he did in the Super Regional game too. Man, Jaime Ferrer has been awesome the entire postseason.
Yep.
He's been incredible from start to finish, and it's really cool that he kept it going in Omaha.
I think ESPN said something about first guy to have 4 or more RBIs in multiple games at the World Series since '98. And that was a different ballpark with a different bat.
I wonder who that was. Mark Kotze? who was the guy in '98?
It was somebody from Southern Cal, but it wasn't.
All right.
It wasn't Mark Kotze.
Mark McGuire? Was it Mark McGuire?
It wasn't Mark.
No,
he was.
I
Rob
think he was
Gore.
with the Cardinals in '98.
Rob Gore. Two R's in Rob, 2 R's in Gore. Gorr.
The great Rob Gore.
the great
Rob Gore. Well, hey, look, Jaime Ferrer, you were going to have a better pro baseball career, no offense to Mr. Gore, than Rob Gore did. So don't let that, you know what I mean? I don't know what Rob Gore did with his baseball career, but I have faith. I mean, I think he's a major league hitter, man. I think he's a major league baseball player. I'm pretty convinced Dingus is too. I don't know what position he's going to play. And I think Max Williams can make it to the majors, and I know Cam and Tibbs can. Like, this is a great, great lineup. Yeah. Just ask Tennessee and Virginia.
So, Corey, should the ACC abandon its name and just be called like the Bojangles Bunch and ask for like $30 million a year, much the way the Big 12 is going to sell out their conference for sponsorship naming rights?
Any money is good money, man. Be the well, I'm not going to say that, but take money from anyone that wants to give you money. Be the Nevin Shapiro Conference. Does that guy have any money left? Take whatever money you can while you can to save this thing. So the Big 12 is a private equity firm, right?
I don't know if it's happened or not, but they want to fish it out there, and that's who's probably. I don't know if that's, but like what is it going to be, like Blackstone Equity. The Blackstone Equity
those,
12.
Yeah. Right.
You feel like it's still. I mean, I don't know. This sounds even stupider, but it's like it feels like it needs to be some sort of American-based conglomerate that we all know. Otherwise,
it won't be. It's going to be a private equity group.
Yeah, it's not going to be McDonald's. It won't be the McDonald's like 12 or whatever.
No.
I would say it should be the Subway 12 because there's not 12 teams in the Big 12, and Subway's footlongs aren't 12 inches. So I figured like that'd be like a.
It's a deep cut, though. I don't know that people are going to be able to put that together.
Well, hey, that's part of the reason. You know, they're like, why is it called the Subway 12? And they're like, oh.
But I would love the ACC to take money, any money they can. What could it hurt? What could it, from almost not any revenue stream? Like you're not taking it from, horrible people. You're not going to take it from like a Russian oligarch. But if Elon wants to give you money, name a person. If they want to get a Kardashian, if they want to give you money, if Taylor Swift wants to buy the conference, let it happen. Let it happen.
I think at some point this week we'll be unveiling picks 16 through 20 on the Warchant top 40.
You know, it was funny, Aslan, to take it back to completely. I'm
trying to force a football here, Corey. What are you doing?
It was just funny because I had to listen to the game, the Florida State game, because I was driving Brady an hour and a half to go in the lightning delay and then go 0 for 3. So I'm listening to the game, and Marco was up, and the guy doing the game, I could tell he read one of the stories on Marco. I don't know if it was mine or not because he said, if you notice the number on Marco Dingis's front and back jersey, it's 43. Well, he gave himself that number because he spent 43 days in the hospital last year and are really scared. He described the disease. And I think he described even Marcus Outzen dying from it. And I'm like, man, he specifically said he did not know how many days he was. He just he randomly was given that number. And I think I put that in the story, that he was randomly given the number 43 and then found out later that, like months later, that 43 was the number of days he actually spent in the hospital. So he got that little, but that's how those kind of apocryphal tales start. Like one guy makes a mistake and then it just becomes fact that everybody thinks, oh yeah, he wears number 43 because of the days in the hospital. And now let's be honest, he will wear 43, I assume, for the rest of his life. But it really was happenstance.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they did point that out. I was like over in the kitchen. I kind of saw them. I heard them talking about Mike Monaco does a pretty good job of bringing some stuff up. He was talking about Link's press conference before they left for Omaha I think he said during the Super when he's like, listen, he's like, I look at that cabinet every day and it's missing something. Yep. Like talking about Link's desire to obviously bring the first national title.
He needs to say, I look at that bullpen every day and it's missing something too. We know you are, Link. We know you are, buddy. It's coming. We know the cavalry's coming. And also the guys on the current staff will get better. A lot of them are young guys this is their first experience with all this. I do think, like a Holtz and a Joe Charles, they might be pretty darn good next year. Maybe.
I don't know if Charles has got any more
maybe he doesn't.
Left.
It's hard to know, man. Are they all grad students? Like Carson Dorsey, I called a freshman for half the year. And then I realized, I
thought Connor Holtz was a freshman until like they brought him in against Tennessee on Friday night. I'm like, let me look up his stats. I'm like, wait, he's a redshirt junior? What? Yeah, Noah Short is like a senior. He transferred from West Virginia. I didn't realize. I thought he was a freshman too.
Yep.
He's also an option too, probably. So 16 through 20 is going to probably drop this week. And Corey, I've got Jacob Rizzi at 16, Corey. How crazy am I?
No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Did he make the top 40?
He did not.
Okay. Hey, out of sight, out of mind, though, Aslan. I think you're crazy, only because they have Darius Washington, Rob Scott, and Jeremiah Byers. It's going to be hard for him to crack the starting lineup. But who knows, man? I guess crazier things have happened. Like we'll be saying a week and a half from now when the Noles are dogpiling in Omaha. Nothing crazier is ever going to happen than this.
Ivy, and he played nothing but left tackle, man. He's played nothing but tackle.
I know, but
so maybe like him and Darius?
They really like the guys they got.
Then why do they bring him in?
Darius Washington. Well, I mean, you got to have numbers, depth, purposes.
I mean, they've got Ferguson, they've got Richie Leonard.
Keeping that APR high, man. Keeping that there. Hey, it's not all just about recruiting football players. You're recruiting athletes. You're recruiting students too.
And you have DJ Lundy at 19, Corey. That might be I wonder if that's like the highest of the. No, somebody else got him much higher than that.
Yeah,
that.
I think he's going to start. So yeah, he's a
he's
starting
a
linebacker. I know, but he's a starting linebacker.
He's a linebacker. The number 3 pass catcher is more valuable than a starting tight.
Hey, don't give me grief for having a starting linebacker at 19 when you have a backup tackle at 16.
Hey, he might start.
All I'm saying. Hey, Jake, in fact, I hope you play this on a loop every day when you wake up at 5:30 in the morning and you crack that raw egg and drink it. I hope you play this, that I don't believe in you. Because I do believe that you have some talent and ability. I don't believe you're going to be the starter, but I want you to prove me wrong. Also, I don't think DJ is going to win the Heisman. I hope he plays this on a loop every morning, too.
All right. That's a wrap for us. I assume the Jeff Cameron show is coming up 1 to 3 o'clock. We'll be back with the show. Maybe we'll do a show tomorrow. I'll get Michael Langston on. Maybe we'll hear from Link since Ira. Maybe we'll get Ira on the show. Maybe we'll put Corey in the bullpen for a day. We'll bring Ira out, or actually we can all 3 talk about.
Hey, he can relieve for me. That's fine. I got things to do.
Yeah, he's out in Omaha, Ira show fellow. So stay connected to warchant.com for everything that's going on out there. And then I'm sure he'll speak to Link tomorrow. Maybe they'll practice. Maybe he's just going to let him hang out in the hotel again for a day, like he did between the Tennessee and Virginia game. But we'll have some recruiting stuff, and then we'll do a mailbag later on in the week. And then, we'll have another game to talk about. Florida State taking on North Carolina, Tuesday, 2 o'clock. Keep the season alive. Thanks for tuning in, listening. We certainly appreciate it. He's Corey. I'm Aslan. Thank you for listening to Wake Up Warchant, presented by Vitamin Energy.